just talking about us identifying ourselves before we can obtain reparations. Are we Negro? Are we Black? Are we African? Are we colored? And and I'm thinking, to me, it doesn't matter what we identify as. We are African descendants, regardless of anything else. And it's for African descendants in this country. How do we, first of all, collectively come together and start, and what are some steps that we can take to start getting there? And make sure, remember, this is a live show. Can we please get the call-in number, because you can call in. Audience, you can call in. We're going to put the call-in number up so you can call in, and we will get your questions on here. So either one of you,
Well,
I'm not going to call,
Dr.
just jump on in.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll start. Thank you so much. Well, Dr. Butler, what we've started doing is having self-determination conversations where we are working to pull together our Afro-descendant leaders for a conference. And in that conference, and this is me, I'm expecting that, or wanting at that conference for those leaders to sit down together and definitely work out what is the best way for us to ask for reparations. What should we be asking for? We have some ideas of what we want to ask for, and I know other leaders have ideas, and I think that we should all sit down together, all the leaders, and decide which are the best for all Afro-descendants. And remember, it's not just Afro-descendants here in America, but it's also Afro-descendants globally as well. So with the various names and the various organizations that we're in, to come together with our global collective identity will bring power to us as a nation of people, whereby we can go forward and move forward to get reparations. In the past, before reparations has been paid from one nation to another nation. So I have not seen or heard that reparations are paid to individual groups. So with us having the identity of Afro-descendant, we all collectively accept that identity, Afro-descendant. That will give us the power of a nation to be able to move forward with getting reparations. And if I could, for just a second, just read the definition of the term Afro-descendant quickly. The term Afro-descendant refers to descendants of peoples who were forcibly dispossessed of their homeland Africa, were transported to the Americas and slavery diaspora for the purposes of enslavement, were subjected to slavery, were subjected to forced mixed breeding and rape, have experienced through force the loss of mother tongue, culture, and religion, and or have experienced racial discrimination due to lost ties or partially lost ties from their original identity. So the term, our global political identity, Afro-descendant, gives us power and collects us, and connects us to our people globally, in which we will number some 250 million. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I'd like to jump in here too. So in our movement, I have a shirt on. I don't know if you can see it, probably not. It says all white people owe reparations. And in our
I
movement,
like that.
yeah, in our movement, even the poorest of the poor white person who have benefited from this system of enslavement and colonialism owes Black people reparations. And we've seen the pictures of picnics happening while Black bodies hung from trees, and young white people are eating their cake while an African person is swinging in the wind. And
Yeah.
white people, regular, ordinary white people, participated in the attacks against Black people. It was white people who regular white people who cleared territory and were became the militia that helped to kill Native Americans, right, Native Indigenous people, and to subdue African rebellions. It was regular white people. And so, to the point of your question, which is how do we get reparations, our movement has used this position to get reparations and have been doing that for the last 30 years. Because we created an organization of white people whose responsibility it is to go into the white community and to demand and to raise up this whole question of African self-determination, that they also are a part of the system that is oppressing us, and to raise resources that will be brought back into the African community so that we can use it. And we have used it for various projects throughout those 30 years. And so, yes, I think that the question of nation to nation reparations is appropriate, but I also think that in a way that we have made it tangible is by declaring right now and then that we deserve reparations in this moment right now. We have implemented a process whereby we are getting reparations through the work of not only the white people who work under our leadership, but also through the work that we are doing within our own cross section of that movement, to go back into our communities, rehabilitate the buildings that have been taken away from us, oppose gentrification in our communities, to struggle around political issues and taking up political territory in our communities, because that's where the fight is. And to create organizations like the one I'm in charge of, the African National Women's Organization, that addresses some of the specifics that people don't really talk about in terms of the ways that African women are being assaulted by the system, and demand and not only just demand but fight on our behalf, because there are so many different ways, not just financial, that this system continues to take from African people. And if we are not fighting on those many different levels, then it can just become a question of how do I get money or land, as opposed to how do I get power, so that we don't always have to depend on this system that has done nothing but rape us, to give us our just due, but that we are fighting for every single inch, so that if it comes down to it, we could just take what is ours.
I want to jump
Now,
in real quick.
oh,
May
yes,
I?
And I just wanted to add to that as well, Dr. Butler, is that all roads lead to reparations. So as my sister is stating
Okay, it's
here,
frozen.
there are so many different things
I'm
that
not
are.
sure if you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, now I can hear you. We were frozen there for a moment.
Okay, I was just saying that I wanted to just say in support of what my sister was just saying, Yajeda. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Thank you.
Almost.
Almost.
It's
Is it
okay. Yeah, G-Day.
Yajide? Thank
Yes.
you. Okay, Yajide. Thank you. So yes, all roads lead to reparations. So I applaud your efforts, the efforts of your organization in getting reparations. So what we want to do is get reparations for all of our people. So we still have to work here, continue to do the work and get what we need to do so that we can be repaired here while we're still working internationally to get our reparations that are due us as a people to make us whole again. Thank you.
Now,
I wanted to jump in.
I was gonna. Are you going to? Almost forgot you want
Yeah,
to jump in.
we,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to speed it along. I want to talk about justice real quick. Let's go back to June 4th, 1965, at Howard University when President Johnson spoke. The title is "What is Justice?" and he answered. He said, "It is to fulfill the fair expectations of man. Thus, American justice is a very special thing. For from the first, this has been a land of towering expectation. It was to be a nation where each man could be ruled by the common consent of all, enshrined in law, given life by institution." Now, I'm not going to go into more, but the bottom line, he says, this is American justice. We have pursued it faithfully to the edge of our imperfections, and we have failed to find it for the American Negro. So address justice. I think justice and reparations go hand in hand.
Well, we know that we don't have, as a people, don't have justice here in America, in the United States. We have been killed over and over again. So many different injustices, so many racial injustices here. And what is really happening that I see is that the presidents, all of the presidents, vice presidents, they always say how they're going to defend the Constitution. So in that Constitution, the Constitution wasn't written for us as Black people. So is there any justice in that Constitution for us, and will there ever be? I can recall when they call us 3/5 of a human being. Who would put something like that in the Constitution, calling another people 3/5 of a human being? So I don't think we'll ever receive justice here the way that we want to receive justice and the way that we should receive justice, and be able to be a self-determining people where we can determine our own destiny and the destiny of our children. We need our own. We need our own government, and we need to be able to govern ourselves. And I'm talking about sovereignty. Thank you.
Now there was a question. Well, let me get this question. Well, let me get this question from offline, because they're having phone issue, but someone sent a question on the line on YouTube, and they asked a question now. How can we all start working together? They said all these organizations are out here, and we're all have the same goal. We all have the same goal in common, the same goal. How do we now pull ourselves together and start working for that common goal?
I just want to say to that question is, I think this program is one indication of us identifying who we are. And I think that when we're talking about the question of reparations, the more the merrier. I think that we might differ ideologically in terms of how, the basis for it in some ways, but the call for reparations is one that is deep and profound and requires discipline and the organizational fortitude to fight for it until the end. And so I think that organizations are coming together around it. The party, the African People's Socialist Party, created a formation called the Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations, which includes all Black organizations from around the country. And of course, we're not all going to agree on the same thing, but we created this because we recognize that we can agree on particular points. And we have a 19-point platform in that coalition that speaks to a whole host of things, including the question of reparations. And in fact, the reparation question is in our title. So, it's possible. I think that people have to be willing and open to participate in those configurations and be willing to bring all of our knowledge and expertise to the table, particularly around this question of reparations, so that we can come to an agreement, right, on how we're going to ultimately get there. And of course, the coalition does not replace anyone's organization. You're going to do what you're going to do on your own, membership meetings and things like that. But of course, like the party, we believe that reparations is a demand that no government that currently exists is going to be able to pay in real life and not suffer economically. And so we believe that it's time that Black people begin to govern, just like the sister said, to start building the infrastructure of our government. Because, let's just say tomorrow they paid us for the $14 trillion that they owed us to every single Black person on the planet and in the United States. That will, in fact, topple the economic system. And then what do we have in its place? And so in the party, we believe that we can govern, and we have been planning to govern. And I think that what the sister said is so important about thinking about what our freedom looks like outside of the scope of the institution of capitalist colonialism that currently holds everything that takes everything from us and holds it, and as a result keeps Black people oppressed. And one of the things that I wrote down was that the sister said was that they considered us 3/5 of a human being. That's because it was economically and politically advantageous for them to do so. Because if they considered us a human being, then they would not have to, they couldn't treat us in a manner that they were treating us based on their moral construct. And so they had to justify who we were for their economic gain. And our enslavement created, the economic basis for capitalism in this country and around the world, and provided them a financial land base for them to continue to do what they have been doing for hundreds of years.
Oh, go ahead.
About you protested at the inauguration. It was a scaled down protest. Can you speak about that very quickly?
Yeah, so we participated, the party participated along with our solidarity organization, participated in the protest that was organized by Black Lives Matter Minnesota sister, and I believe ADOS DMV. And it was scaled back. It was initially supposed to be a larger event. And it was supposed to be, down near where the inauguration was happening, but that was impossible based on all the security protocol that was initiated in Washington, D.C. So we had it across the street from Howard University at Benjamin Banneker Recreation Center, and it was a small group, but it represented, so many different areas of our movement, of the movement of Black people who are trying to demand this whole piece on reparations. So it was really powerful in that it allowed us to come together, allowed us to say what we needed to say around the reparations question, but more work needs to be done beyond just the protest, and we need to start building with one another in a more concrete way that will lead to our eventual success.
Thank you. Dr. Butler, go ahead, please.
Yes, I was going to say, well, I'm looking online to the same time. You might see me turning my head because questions are coming in on the other side. And so someone had commented how the differences keeps us apart and divided us. And for us to remember that. But I wanted to say we have more in common than we do our differences. And we got to think about that. And this is one thing I tell people when they talk about our differences. I tell people, when you have, how many children do you have? Is every child the same? Every child is born differently. They have different needs. So within your family, you have differences. But the main common goal is to get your children to a certain point. So there's that commonality that we have. So for all of our audience out there, we all as Black folks will have differences. There's no one who all thinks alike. But one thing I do want to say, we have more in common as far as the end goal and what our goals are. And we really should think about that beyond and above our differences. So I just want to put that out there. And the question that I had, and that someone also put out, what do we tell white folks? And I hear them all the time. I never owned a slave. I never did anything. I have Black people as my friends. I shouldn't have to pay reparations. And what do you tell white folks who say that? And I have white friends and some who thought that way until we really talked about it, because I don't think they really believe white privileges is real. So can each of you comment to that? What would you tell, or what can we tell our white counterparts about reparations and why
Butler,
it is owed to us?
Yes, Dr. Butler, I would tell our white counterparts that they are still reaping the benefits of this government that enslaved our foreparents, and they didn't do right by them, didn't do justice by them. Now the generations that are coming now, they're still not doing justice by them. So they owe us. These are lingering effects. We're going through lingering effects of slavery. There are some of us who are able to make it, but for the majority of our people, they're not. We need all of our people to be whole. These lingering effects, as my sister was saying, she was saying about how the little white kids were eating cake. I was thinking about a picture that I saw where they were hanging someone during slavery, and they had pregnant women standing around, and there was a pregnant woman hanging, and they cut the baby out of the woman's stomach. What does that do to a woman, another pregnant woman that's standing there and seeing that? That fear, that pain that goes into the unborn child. And when that child is born, there's something in that child already that they're fearful and having a fear for their lives. So these are lingering effects. This is being passed on through our lineage every day, because now just moving it forward, where the cop put his knee into our brother George Floyd's neck. What is that doing to people? What is that doing to our children when they see that? And so now, it's just an ongoing cycle. So I tell white people, hey, you have to pay. So, and regardless of if it's going to break the bank or what, because you have broken us. You have broken us down to a nothingness people. And it's time for you to repair and make us whole. What we would have been had you not done this to us in the beginning, had slavery never occurred. And that's why our identity is so important, our identity as Afro descendants. We have to unite collectively together under that umbrella of Afro descendant. Thank you.
I would say all white people owe reparations. Even the little shoeless, scraggly haired child in the Appalachian Mountains, she owes us reparations too. And and think they should probably they should and if they want to have some shoes on their feet, they need to unite with the demand of reparations for African people, because it's only then will you deal with that question of your oppressor nation white people like taking the shoes off your feet too. So the whole question of reparations is as a demand, not just, I mean, it's primarily for us, but it's about repairing us and repairing your relationship with Black folks, repairing your relationship for Black folks. So white people should also demand reparations for Black people, because it repairs. Not only should white folks demand reparations for Black people, but they should also be giving right now. Every single white person that you know, your friends, your family, all of them need to be paying over that money to you. Pay for your college education if you can get it on an individual level. And I wanted to go back to what the sister said earlier in terms of like getting reparations for the whole people, and that's real. And I think that those, if a white person can't even give you reparations in your face right now, I think that there's a larger question that has to be assessed about how you're going to get these same white people to unite with a whole demand that we're bringing and force their government to give us reparations. And I think that when we start on that local, in your face level, not make it an ambiguous question or an ambiguous thing, that we begin to break, to make it real for white people that they too need to pay this reparations, and if they're paying it, they should be demanding their leadership to also be doing that the same. And so I think that's something that must be done in order to forward this whole question.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am,
you're supposed to
sister.
know that Sheila
Agree.
Jackson Lee has proposed a national study to determine if we can receive reparations. Could you guys give some thoughts about that bill that she has that she is proposing, and the national study that they want to do again?
Dr. Butler, I don't want to hear another word about a study. Again, that's where I am. We have been studied enough. Everyone knows that we have suffered at the hands of this white government for years. It's the government. It's the government that President Joe Biden right now is coming in like he's some great white hope. It's the government that our vice president, now our sister, she has said that she's going to defend the Constitution. The Constitution, and this is the Constitution that has kept us in slavery, kept us a subservient people for years. And if we don't do something about it now, then this is going to go on, and our other generations of our children are going to go through the same thing. Nothing's going to change. We have always been going back and back. I say, you're trying to get crumbs. You just accepting crumbs. No, we're going for the gusto now. We're going to sue America for these crimes against our people. We're going to come together collectively and have that superpower of 250 million Afro descendants and get our reparations for our people. So no more studies. Please don't let anyone else talk to me about a study. It is not going to be accepted. We've had enough. It's time to put up now and give us our just due. Thank you.
Right on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And that's why I said again. So yes, so the DJ, because can you add? You would like to have something to add on to that? Because I look, we keep studying and studying and studying, and we will always be studying. So how can we move this needle? Because we have to do it now. Our children, and that song you heard at the beginning of this video, the time is now. We have to do it now. How do we begin? And tell us how they can get involved and help move this envelope with us.
Well, you got to join, or in my opinion, you have to join an organization that's fighting for reparations. I mean, you can't. I mean, that's how you pull in the droves of African people and start to build power. Because if you're just an individual who says, I believe in reparations to Black people, and then you don't do any work to organize, 10 more or 100 more or whatever more to that whole position, then it's going to be very difficult to show the power that is necessary to, approach, this white colonial government. But of course, I don't believe that they will ever give us reparations in the way that, if we position ourselves in the way that people are saying we need to do it in. And I just think that the sister made a really good point in terms of the defending of the Constitution of the United States, and the vice president saying that she was going to defend the Constitution of the United States. I think that when we look at the whole reparations question, I think that it's important to look at Kamala Harris's record, right? Like, and to look at what she has done as a Black prosecutor in the state of California, and what she has done that would also trigger the requirement of reparations and the policies that she has put in place. And I think that the more and more that we look at this question of reparations, we start to see it unravel in so many different things. And I think that when we stop at the whole question of colonial slavery, like how, the slavery of African people, the actual bondage, that does us a disservice. Because even the Karen on the phone who calls the police on the young Black boy who she thinks stole her cell phone is an offender. And that boy needs reparations, what I'm saying? His family needs reparations for that. The child that has been murdered by the police requires reparations. And so, and all of which this presidential, this government represents in the onslaught against Black people. And so when someone says they're going to uphold the very thing that continues to attack African people, it's very difficult to then say, we're going to hold their pinkies to the fire, when everything that they have done, Joe and Kamala has in terms of their action, their crime, interventions, have really contributed to the trauma and the injustices that have led to Black, brown, and other people being traumatized by the system and assaulted by the system. And so I think that the study is I think that it's cool if somebody wants to bring that to the Congress or Senate or wherever, but the fight is in the streets. The fight has to be carried on by people who are willing to participate in it, organize for it, and build for it, because without the power of the people, then nothing will be recognized, And so I think that it starts there. Join an organization that is fighting for reparations and be a part of the process to build the infrastructure of the reparations movement, beyond just the desire to see reparations happen.
I want to throw out one last question. We got 5 minutes, 6 minutes. Here's the last question from me. What is the future of us in this country, in your opinion?
I'm gonna let the sister. Yes, go ahead. I think I made my point, but I'll come in after you, sister.
Thank you. Okay, so the future of us in this country is coming together collectively as Afro descendants, and we're going to first start by having our leadership conference. The 9-day conference that the Honorable Salas Muhammad mentioned during our Greater Mother's Day celebration in October of 2020. We're going to get our leaders together and get them to sit down with one another, or sit down with one another, and hammer it out, work out what is in the best interest of our people, all of our people. And we want to make sure that our people understand that they don't have to give up who they are, what organizations they are in, but you do have to take on your global political identity. Global political identity. African American is not our global political identity. Blacks is not our global political identity. all of our different organizations are not either. So, but all of us together with our commonalities, as Dr. Butler said, we all come together under the umbrella of the Afro-descendant nation as Afro-descendants. Then we use that superpower to get reparations for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Sister JDJ?
Yes. But it's a question that I don't, I come within an organization that believes that this system is unsalvageable. Like you cannot salvage it. And that its expression, its existence is something that requires the oppression of Black folks, and that it is not possible, in my opinion, that this system be the deliverer of our reparations in so much as that we may expect. And so, in my opinion, the demand for reparations means to put pressure on this illegitimate configuration called the United States government, which is on in the land base of stolen people. Hold their toes to the fire, put as much pressure on them as possible, and bring it to a head. Because at some point, if we organize the body of people to do that, then a decision is going to have to be made, right? And the decision either is you're going to do it or you're not. And I think at that point, where we reach that crosshairs, and we can't compromise on what we're getting. Like, it's not, okay, I'm going to give this segment of your population a little bit of something. It can't be no compromises on that. And I think that once we get to the point where we cannot make those compromises, then we will get to a point where we're going to have to do something beyond that. And so for me, in this question of our situation in this country, it means taking it to its final conclusion. And if we want, in my final conclusion, and the final conclusion of our movement is that they're not going to be able to save themselves when Black people come looking for what is owed. and in that vein, we're going to have to take it. You know what I'm saying? And so we are organizing a plenary with African people all over the world to talk about just that. And that's going to be on February 6th through the 9th. It's going to be virtual. And I invite folks
Can you repeat those dates? Can you repeat those dates?
February 6th through the 9th. So next couple of weeks. And it's going to be held online. And the website to find out more about that, if that's okay for me to share, is APSP.
Yes, please share your website. Can we put that up?
Sure, I'll send it to you.
Say it slowly so that we can put it up. I'm sorry.
P as in Paul, S P as in Paul, plenary, plenary.org. So that's APSP plenary.org, and people can find out the basis for that. It is pulling together African people from all over the place. So, but the question of where do we go, and how do we do it is happening. And so it's not just a leadership conference; it's every African in the world conference. Like, if you want to join it, and we can participate in, the discussion there as well.
Dr. Butler.
Well, we're coming. Yes,
Dr. Butler, I would like to invite my sister also to our self-determination conversation on February 6th. It's from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And I can also attend her event as well that you all are having. And I just want to say one thing, that we want to be that 194th recognized nation in the United Nations. They said there are 193 right now. So we're looking for the Afro-descendant nation to be that 194th nation to have our sovereignty. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that can happen. But I want to thank both my sisters today. Thank you so much. Um, please, audience, my email is up on. Can you keep the email up, please? Can we keep the email up? My email is up on the website. Can we put the email back up? Because I want people to email me for the information. And if the both of you can text me all the information, because I know we always get emails after the show, and we like to send it out to people because we need to help people get involved. This show is all about bringing us together in unity and working for the common good of the Black folk. And so I really want to be able to share that information with the audience. So audience, please, if you see one of the websites up for what's happening, but please email me. Please email me if you didn't get any of the information, and I would definitely like to get that information out for anyone who wants to be involved. I will be at both those events because it's important. It is very important that we start working together on one accord for the common goal of reparations and the common upliftment of people who look like us and people of color who have been we've been marginalized, we've been abused. We have totally, when they say 3/5, and I believe that's still in the Constitution. I don't know if it's been
Yep.
taken out yet.
Still
And
there.
this is something that so tell me, Invisible Man, is that still in the Constitution? Because you are a
Yes,
historian.
ma'am.
You are a
It's still
historian
there.
here. So look,
Yep.
that is something
I
that's
was
still in
just
the
reading
Constitution,
information. I was just
and
reading
that needs to be
information
changed.
where they had been complaining about slavery even up to today, as the guest alluded to. The new president is talking about systemic racism, so we have to have them back and expand it. So we are out of time now. That's all I got to say.
So yeah, so we definitely have to put people's feet to the fire, as the sister was saying, and I am so proud. I was so happy and so proud to have my beautiful Black women and sisters on with me today, especially as our first airing after the inauguration to really push this forward because we have to start holding this administration accountable. And we might not get everything from the government, but I'm gonna say, you reach for the sky. When you reach for the sky, you'll get plenty of it. So I want to thank my guest again today. I want to thank my
Thank
co-host,
Thank you.
and
thank
thank you
Butler
again.
for having us.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
thank you
much for
so
having me.
much.
Thank you.
It